Hello, students. I hope you are doing very well. So, welcome to my second lecture on communication structure in organization. So, before moving forward, what we will learn today is after completing this lecture, you will be learning the concept and importance of communication structure within the organization. You can differentiate between formal and informal communication networks, identify key communication flows. Those are vertical, horizontal, diagonal, and their managerial implications in your organization. Also, you can able to analyze how organizational structure influences information flow and decision making. Also, you can evaluate communication structures to improve coordination, efficiency, and leadership effectiveness. So, let's start with the presentation. So, coming to the introduction, communication as a core organizational function. How it is core function? So, communication is the foundation of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. It enables alignment between individual efforts and organizational objectives. And it also are essential for coordinating tasks across the department and different hierarchies. So, what are the importance of communication in organization? It facilitates clear direction, policy dissemination, and goal clarity. It also supports decision making by ensuring timely and accurate information flow. It also strengthens relationships among employees, managers, and stakeholders, reduces conflicts, uncertainty, and operational error. So, as we have already done before, these are the main importance and organizational function that communication will help you to achieve success within the organizational structure. So, moving forward, what are the impact of communication on organizational performance? It enhances employee efficiency, productivity, and accountability. It also improves employee engagement, motivation, and job satisfaction. It also leads to better teamwork, collaboration, and innovation. Every employee is different, so each and every employee has a different kind of innovative mind. So it also contributes to the organizational adaptability, growth, and competitive advantage. So, how strategic role of communication will impact your life? It acts as a bridge between strategy formulation and execution of the strategy within the organization. It shapes organizational culture, leadership effectiveness, and change management. It's critical for sustaining performance in dynamic and complex business environment. So, in this complex environment, to sustain in the business, to stabilize your goal, to manage your strategic decision, communication plays a very vital role in the organization. Moving forward, the definition of communication structure. What is communication structure is about? Communication structure refers to the pattern of communication within an organization, explains how information flow from one level to another. It also defines the hierarchy of communication. It shows who communicates with whom and what to be communicated. And finally, it helps ensure clear and effective information exchange. So, definitely, the main aim or the main goal of communication is that whatever you want to say, whatever your message is, whatever your information is, it should be clear and effective transfer from you to the other person you want to share the message. So, moving forward, objective of communication structure. First objective is to understand different types of communication structure. Those are formal, informal, vertical, horizontal, centralized, and decentralized. We will be doing each one of them individually in detail. Second is to analyze how communication flows within an organization, whether it is flowing from top to down, whether it is flowing from bottom to up, and lateral information or diagonal flow. So, third is to evaluate the effectiveness of each communication structure in terms of clarity, speed, accuracy, and feedback. Fourth is to identify strengths and limitations of various communication patterns in real organizational settings. And next is to improve coordination and collaboration. How will you improve coordination collaboration? Of course, within the employees, teams, and the management to enhance decision making and reduce misunderstanding by ensuring proper information flow. And lastly, to support organizational efficiency and performance through structured and transparent communication. Moving forward, what is formal communication? A formal communication is a systematic and official form of communication followed within an organization. What is that? It uses structured and predefined channels approved by the management or the top level senior managers. It also follows the organizational hierarchy and the authority level. Formal communication actually they use for policy making, they are used for rules setup, they are used for instructions, they are also used for decision making and making reports. Formal communication it also ensures accuracy, clarity and consistency of informations. It also provides written records for future references and accountability. Because formal communication is a formal structure within the organization, so it helps maintain discipline, it controls and it also helps you to become a professional person. It can flow from downward communication, that meaning superior to the subordinate, upward communication, for example, the feedbacks and the reports from the employees that the managers receive, and horizontal communication, that is between the peers or the departments or between your colleagues, between inter-department, between cross-department. So those are called horizontal communication. Examples may include official emails, different circulars that had been circulated within the departments, different kinds of notices, meeting schedules, memos, and different kind of reports of course. So moving forward, what is an informal communication? Informal communication in the organization structure is an unofficial form of communication. It is also a formal communication but in an unofficial way. It is not a communication that you communicate between your friends. It is a communication within your colleague but in an informal way, which is not to be documented always. Formal communication, as we have seen, it is documented. Whatever communication you do in formal communication, it should be documented. But informal communication, documentation may not be required, but it is in the unofficial form of communication. So an unofficial form of communication that exists alongside formal communication. It does not follow predefined rules, procedures, or hierarchy, arises naturally through personal relationships and social interaction. For example, you are talking with your managers maybe during the lunchtime or maybe during some official tea break. So the communication you have with your managers, with your peers, with your colleagues, those kind of communication, it may not be documented, but it is a kind of unofficial form of communication known as informal communication. Another word for informal communication is grapevine communication. Why it is grapevine communication? Because as you know, what is a grapevine? It is a bunch of grapes hanging from a grapevine. So it's spreads information quickly and freely across the organization. It can flow in any direction. You need not maintain any direction like upward, downward, or horizontal. It helps in building relationships, trust, and team spirit among the employees. Employees allowed to share feelings, concerns, and ideas openly. There is no restriction in sharing your ideas, there is no restriction in sharing your feelings, and you can communicate within the official structure freely. Informal communication are also useful for understanding employee morale and attitudes. It may sometimes lead to rumors, misunderstandings, or inaccurate information, but it is difficult to control or regulate due to its spontaneous nature, because in a company structure where lakhs and lakhs of employees are working, it is not possible for managers to control the spreading of information or to control the spreading of some misunderstanding, some rumors. So, informal communication is an unofficial formal form of communication that is present alongside with the formal communication. So, I hope till here it is clear to you all. So, moving forward, what is downward communication, upward communication, horizontal communication, and diagonal communication in detail? So, these are the direction of communication that you have to follow within the organization structure. Each and every organization follows different forms of direction of communication. So, what is downward communication? Downward communication is a type of communication that flows from top management to the lower level of employees, used to communicate organizational policies, rules, plans, and objectives of the organization that has been set by the managers. It also helps gives instructions, guidelines, job related direction to the employees. It clarifies roles, responsibilities, duties, and performance standards. It includes communication about work methods, the procedures the company follows, and the safety measures. It also aims to guide, motivate, and control employee behavior. The common channels include circular, notices, emails, meetings, manuals, reports, and many form of documented communication. Downward communication also ensures uniformity and discipline in the organizational operations. It may sometimes lead to delay or distortion if feedback is not encouraged. So, the most important part of downward communication is when the top management receives feedback from the lower level of employees. Then the full set of communication structure has been established, because a delay or distortion happens if the feedback is not proper being communicated to the top management. So moving forward, what is upward communication? It is a type of communication that flows from employees to the higher level management. So it is used for providing feedback, suggestions, opinions, and work related informations. It also helps employees communicate problems, their grievances, and difficulties that they face at their work. It also involves sharing performance report, progress update, and status information. Upward communication also enables management to understand employee needs, their morale, and job satisfaction, how satisfied they are getting doing this job. It also encourages employee participation and involvement in decision making, supports organizational improvement by identifying issues at the operational level. Upward communication also builds trust and openness between employees and management. Why? Because it is the only common channel that includes reports, feedback forms, suggestion boxes, meetings, emails. This is the only communication where the employees can directly go and talk with their higher level of management. So, effectiveness depend on management's willingness to listen and respond. Of course, if the upward managers, if the higher level management, the manager sitting at the top level of the corporation or organization, they are not willing to listen to the employees, then it is not possible for the employees to go and reach and share their information to the higher level of management. So, moving forward with the horizontal communication. So, what is horizontal communication? It is a form of communication that occurs between employees or departments at the same level of authority. It is also known as lateral communication. Why? Because it does not involve superior subordinate relationship. It is used mainly for coordination, cooperation, and teamwork within the team. The communication is called horizontal communication. Why? Because it helps in sharing information, it helps in sharing ideas, it helps to pass on the resources among the peers. It is just working together in a team setup of positive workers. It also supports problem solving and joint decision making. It reduces misunderstandings and delays between departments. It also improves work efficiency and smooth workflow. Horizontal communication also encourages a sense of equality and mutual understanding within the team and within the organization. Why? Because it is most commonly occur through meetings, emails, discussions, and group chats. People working in a particular team or in a cross team, they play an important role in cross functional collaboration. They share their ideas, the employees make joint decisions, the employees coordinate, cooperate, and a good teamwork is happens then. Moving forward, excuse me. So, what is diagonal communication? It is a type of communication that take place across different departments and organizational level. So, the type of communication that involves interaction between employees and managers who are not in direct line of authority. So, what is that? It is a combination of vertical and horizontal communication. Why? Then, why diagonal communication is required? Diagonal communication is required because it used to speed up information flow in modern flexible organization. It helps in cross departmental coordination and collaboration. It is also useful for product management, project management, problem solving, and team based work. It reduces dependence on strict hierarchical channel. Diagonal communication also encourages open communication and teamwork across unit. It is also common in matrix and project based organizational structures. Diagonal communication includes communication through emails, meetings, task force, and project decisions. Many may diagonal communication may sometimes create confusion or authority issue if not properly managed. Why? Because it is the combination of vertical and horizontal. It is a cross departmental coordination. So if by chance any one single department does not coordinate properly, then the full communication structure gets hampered and the organization may face some confusion or some delay in their work. So, moving forward, this is a gist of directions of communication in the organization. So, see, if this is the organization, this is the upward, employees to management, this is diagonal, across department and level, this is downward, managers to employees, horizontal between peers. So just remember one thing. If you remember this diagram, it is easier for you to remember the direction of communication in the organization because you will be understanding which communication is required in what form of communication in the organization structure, or how to remember what is upward, what is downward, and diagonal and horizontal. So, please, students, remember this diagram. This diagram is very important to understand the direction of communication in the organization. So, moving forward, now let us understand what is network structures. So there are mainly four type of network structures that play a vital role in the communication structure. What is network structure? How the platform of the communication structure. So there are four. First one is chain, second is wheel, third is circle, and the last one is all channel. It's a combination of all. So, moving forward, what is chain network? Chain network is a type of communication network based on sequential flow of information. Information passes step by step from one person to the next in a linear order, closely follows the information organizational hierarchy. Each individual communicates only with the immediate superior or subordinate, commonly found in traditional and bureaucratic organization. Chain network also ensures control, discipline, clear lines of authority. It reduces confusion by maintaining defined communication channel. It is suitable for routine tasks and standardized operations. However, communication can be slow due to multi-levels, possible of message distortion or loss at each stage. Also, chain network has limited scope for feedback and employee participation. So, this is a very common structure of chain, that is the sequential flow. If this box is sending information, then it will send to the first box, then second, and then third. So I hope chain network is clear to you. So moving forward with the wheel network. So what is a wheel network? A centralized communication network where all messages pass through a single central authority, because there is a single body, and from there the message will pass from all the channels of communication. So one person, usually the leader, manager, or the supervisor of a team, acts as the hub. Then all the other members are positioned as spokes, connected only to the center. Subordinates do not communicate directly with each other. Communication flows from center to members and then the members to the centers, commonly found in authoritarian or highly controlled organization where the supervisor is in control of the full organization structure, ensures strong control and quick decision making, suitable for simple tasks and crisis situation. It helps maintain discipline and accountability, reduces confusion as instructions come from one source only. Will network, or however, it plays heavy communication load on the central person because it can cause delay if the central authority is overloaded. It may reduce employee participation and morale and creativity. So, if one person, one leader manages the whole team, the whole organization, then employees sometimes feel very not negative, and they lose their morale, and they lose their employee participation, and as a result the creativity is lost for the employees. So, will network is not occasionally being practiced in the organization. So, moving forward, circle network. Circle network is a decentralized communication network. All members are placed in a circular arrangement. Each person communicates with two adjacent members only. There is no central authority or leaders controlling communication. Information flows around the circle either clockwise or anti-clockwise. Every member in the circle network has equal status and communication responsibility. Circle network also encourages participation, collaboration, and mutual understanding. It promotes open discussion and team involvement. It is commonly used in democratic and team oriented organization. Also, circle network is suitable for problem solving, group discussion, creative talk. It is actually the best network to follow for communication because circle network improves employee morale and satisfaction. Communication may be slow for urgent decision. Lack of central control may reduce efficiency and coordination, but central network is best for problem solving, group discussion, and creative tasks. So, moving forward with all channel network is a fully decentralized communication system. Every member and communicate freely with every other member. There are no restrictions or fixed channels of communication. Information flows in any direction at all the time. It also encourages open discussion, transparency, collaboration. All members have equal opportunity to share ideas and feedbacks. It promotes creativity, innovation, and problem solving. It is commonly found in teams, committees, research groups, and startups, where each and every person play a vital role in creating or shaping the organization. It is mostly suitable for complex tasks requiring collective decision making. It also improves group satisfaction, morale, and involvement. It reduces dependency on hierarchy and authority. It can become confusing or time consuming with large groups, but it requires good communication skill and coordination. It is less effective when quick decision or strict control are needed. So this is an open end channel where it is being practiced and followed in a large organization where there is a open discussion forum, where there is a transparency, where there is a collaboration among the team member who need to promote creativity, innovation, and problem solving tasks and schedules. There you can practice this all channel network. So I hope the network part is clear to you. Moving forward with the lecture, what is technology in communication? So nowadays, where the advancement of technology is so high, where we are living with the AI system, so AI and technology plays a very important role in communication these days. So what is technology in communication? Technology has revolutionized the way individuals and organizations communicate. It enables fast, efficient, and real time exchange of information, reduces dependence on face to face communication, supports both internal and external communication. Of course, just for example, think that I am sitting in a place and I am sharing you information. I'm sharing you all the course structure, the course that you are taking, the course that you are studying, and I don't know from where you all are sitting and listening to the lectures, gaining knowledges. So technology has given us this space where people can sit from anywhere of the globe and they can learn, they can communicate, they can exchange information from anywhere of the world. So, the major forms of technology based communications are: first is email. Emails are used for formal and official communication. It allows sending messages, documents, and records. It also provides written proof and easy storage. Of course, emails is the most efficient and effective way of formal communication. Next is chats and instant messaging. Quickly enables informal communication. So you have a formal group of WhatsApp group in your organization where a quick information is being shared, a quick message is being delivered so that people act accordingly. It is used for everyday coordination and instant updates. For example, WhatsApp, workplace chat tools, and messaging apps. There are a number of messaging apps that different organization follows. The most common is the WhatsApp that we follow. Third is the video calls and the video conferencing. Why? It is the technology that allows us to face interaction across distances. There is no barring of distance. It is across miles and miles, but we can connect with each other with video calls and video conferencing if the technology is proper. It is a useful for meetings, trainings, interviews, and teamwork. It saves travel time and cost. It the cost effective, it is time efficient, and it helps in the transfer of messages within within a very quick time and in across many miles of distances. So moving forward, what is digital communication tools? So you have been heard a lot about digital tools, digital technology based platforms. So what are these? These are digital communication tools are technology based platforms used to exchange information electronically. So they enable fast, real time and remote communication within and outside organization. It is widely used in modern workplaces, educations and virtual teams. So common digital communication tools are Slack. What is a Slack? A messaging based collaboration tool. It allows instant chats, group channels and file sharing. It is an useful for team coordination and informal communication. Second common digital tool is Microsoft Teams, an integrated platform for chat, video calls, meetings and documents sharing. It supports teamwork, collaboration and remote work. It is commonly used in corporate and educational institutions. And the third most widely used is Zoom, a video conferencing tool. It is very user friendly. It is being widely used for online meetings, webinars, virtual classes like we are doing, and interviews. Enables face to face interaction across long distances. So, this is the most efficient and effective platform where you can use at any time if you have a proper internet connection. So, moving forward, what are the advantages of a good structure of communication? A good structure of communication provides clarity in roles and responsibilities. It helps employees understand who communicate with whom. It ensures smooth and systematic flow of information. It reduces confusion, duplication, and misunderstanding. Also, a good structure of communication improves efficiency by, of course, saving time and effort in communication. It enables faster decision making through defined channels. It enhances coordination, cooperation among individuals and different departments in the organization. It also creates accountability by clearly defining the authority and the reporting lines of the organization. It also supports better planning, control, and supervision. It increases employees' confidence and productivity. It ensures consistency and accuracy in communication within the organization structure, and lastly, it helps the organization achieves its goals effectively. So, what are the disadvantages of communication? If advantages is there, there must be some disadvantages or some rigidity in the structure of communication. The rigidities are a rigid structure lacks flexibility and adaptability. Communication must follow fixed rules and formal channels, but it causes delays in information flow due to multiple approval levels. Decision makings become slow and time consuming. Employees have limited freedom to communicate eagerly and openly, reduces creativity and innovation among staffs. The feedback process from lower level may be ignored or delayed sometimes. It can lead to distortion of messages as information passes through many levels. Also, it creates bureaucracy and excessive paperwork. Employees may sometimes feel frustrated or demotivated, difficult to respond quickly to urgent situation or changes, not suitable for dynamic, modern or fast changing organization. So there are some disadvantages in the structure of communication, but mostly the advantages are really helpful for organizing or for managing the organization structure. So, moving forward, this is a gist that you should understand and you should learn the difference between centralized versus decentralized structure. So, going with the basic comparison, the meaning. Centralized structure is authority and decision making are concentrated at the top level, whereas decentralized structure, authority and decision making are distributed at various levels. Coming to the control part, centralized structure has high level of control by top management, where decentralized structure has lower centralized control. Flexibility, of course, centralized structure is less flexible, decentralized structure is more flexible and adaptable. Decision making are made by top executives in centralized structure, whereas decisions are made by managers at different levels in decentralized structure. Speed of decision is fast in emergencies but slow overall due to overload in the centralized structure. But in decentralized structure, faster responses at lower levels, slower for major decisions. In centralized structure, the communication mainly flows from top to down, whereas in decentralized structure, it is multidirectional, that is upward, downward, and horizontal. Employee participation is limited in centralized structure, whereas high employee participation happens in decentralized structure. Creativity and innovation is very low encouragement in centralized, whereas it is high in decentralized structure. Consistency and uniform decisions have been made in centralized structure, whereas decisions may vary across different departments in the organization in the decentralized structure. Suitable for small organization, routine work, stable environment in centralized structure, and in decentralized structure, large organization, dynamic environment are mostly suitable for. So the main advantage of centralized structure is strong control and uniformity. And for decentralized structure, the main advantage is flexibility and employee empowerment. The main limitations in centralized structure is it is rigid structure and delays sometimes happen in the transfer of messages and communication. And the main limitations in decentralized structure is lack of uniform control. Since the decisions has been made by all the departments, all the managers, so sometimes there is lack of uniform control. There is no proper control or rigid control in the decentralized structure. So these are the basic differences between centralized and decentralized structure in the organization. So this is helpful to understand what kind of decision or what kind of structure you as a manager want to follow to manage your team. You may follow a mixed kind of structure while you will be working within the team and while you will be managing your team in the organization. So moving forward, uh, case study. So people get different kind of situations. So sometimes organizational communication failure. So what is this? An organization faced serious problem due to poor communication. Information did not flow properly. So this is an arbitrary case study that I have been set up, but this is mostly commonly you will face while you start working in the organization. So suppose an organization faced serious problem due to poor communication. Information did not flow properly between the management and the employees. Messages were passed through multiple hierarchical level, but instructions were not clear and there was a distortion of messages. Employees did not clearly understand their roles and responsibilities. Feedback didn't happen from the lower level, or maybe feedback happened but the manager or the management have totally ignored and delayed the responses. Department worked in isolation with little coordination. Important decisions were taken without consulting concerned teams. Employees' morale decreased due to confusion and frustration, and productivity suffered because of misunderstanding. The organization ultimately experienced loss of time, money, and efficiency. So, these are all the cases you may come across in your life while working in the organization. Now, it is you as a manager. How will you overcome these situations, these failure situations? How will you make the clarity of the communication a proper communication to ultimately achieve the organizational goal? And you as a good manager have to prove that how proper management structure, how proper management goals are to be set within your own team. So these are the few situations that I have jotted down for you all to understand, to analyze. If you face such kind of problems, how will you solve such kind of problems? So I hope you will analyze each one of the problems on your own way and you will overcome how each of the problems to be overcome within the organization through proper maintaining organization structure of communication. So, uh, I have taken one important case study for you. This is organizational communication failure. So, what is that? You know, Boeing is a very famous company. So, I have taken a case for the company Boeing. So, Boeing is a aircraft company. So, Boeing faced a major crisis after the 737 Max crashes in 2018-19 and 737-9 door plug incident 2024. If you want to do a detail of this case study, you can search the Boeing crisis or the Boeing major crisis. You will get a detail of the case study in the Google. So what was the main issue of Boeing? Boeing has an internal safety concern. So internal safety concern has been raised by engineers were delayed or ignored. The engineers have raised the concern, but it has been delayed or ignored by the management. What was the critical information? The critical information was not clearly communicated to the pilot and the regulators. Top management messages focused on technical defenses, not transparent. The top management did not address the engineers' response quickly. So, a poor crisis of communication happened, delayed responses, and lack of empathy. The managers did not handle the crisis empathically. So, next leads to leadership disconnect. What happens? The information was not passed on properly. They were not being handled by the senior management. So the leadership, there was a disconnect between the senior executives and the operational teams. There was a loss, or there was a distortion of messages between the two departments, which resulted in the loss of trust, aircraft grounding, heavy financial losses, and strict regulatory oversight. So, what happened? If the communication would have been proper, the huge loss, the huge financial loss would not have been happened. So, this case study demonstrates how communication failure can turn technical issues into organizational disaster. If you actually want to read in detail about the disaster of the organizational financial loss and technical issues happen just because of information sharing was not proper, the communication was not proper. So you would have understand that communication plays such a vital role in communicating or in shaping the organizational trust, organizational financial structure, and of course the face value and branding of the organization. So I request all the students, please go through the case study in detail from Google. So, sorry, how can you improve this communication? First, the Boeing should have structured training program. They should have conduct regular communication skill training. They should focus on clarity, active listening, empathy, and confident expression. They should include role plays, real workplace scenarios, and case studies. They may provide onboarding communication training for new employees. Second, effective feedback system. There should be two-way feedback channels between the employee and the management always. Why? Because it encourages open, honest, and constructive feedback culture. It uses regular feedback sessions, surveys, and one-on-one meeting so that to ensure feedback is specific, actionable, and timely. Thirdly, Boeing should have clear communication channel where defined formal communication mediums, that is email, meeting, and messaging tools have to be used so that any problem being transferred from the lower management to the upper management. It also avoids information overloaded by streamlining messages. There should be a standardized format for updates, report, and announcement. There should be rather three, that there should be several departments who will handle communication, because communication is the only place or the only source where the managers, where the team members get effective information. And the most important is continuous monitoring and improvement. You as a manager should track communication gaps and misunderstanding. You act on feedback to improve processes and messaging. Reviews and update communication practice periodically. So when you become a manager, you always check on your employees feedback, you always check on their grievances. If you redress their grievances, if you redress the feedback system, then there will be a proper communication will be established, reducing the stoppage of the work, the financial of the work, and it will lead to an efficient and effective outcome within your organization structure. So, like, what is the role of leadership then? I'm like from the beginning, I'm talking about managers should perform this, the employees should perform this, but very few employees become a good leader. So, what is the role of leadership? Role of leadership is to set the tone from the top. Leaders model transparent, honest, and respectful communication. Leaders share goals, decision, and organizational update clearly and consistently. So leaders always have to encourage two-way communication. They have to invite questions, ideas, concerns without fear of judgment or retaliation. Leaders do active listening. They give full attention to the employees. They first listen and then they act, and they acknowledge feedback and respond thoughtfully and constructively. All the leaders, they are accessible and approachable, meaning maintain an open door policy for formal as well as informal discussions. Leaders should be visible and available across the teams and levels. Also, the leader should build trust and psychological safety. The employees must feel respect diverse opinion and encourage healthy debate. They should address issues fairly and maintain confidentiality where required. The leader should act on feedback. They should translate employee feedback into meaningful actions, and then they communicate follow ups to show that voices are heard and valued and evaluated and maintained. So, a good leader should have all the types of characteristics or features that I have discussed so far. So when you become a leader upcoming years, you just follow these features, that you should be approachable to your team members, you should listen to them, you should be honest, and you should always be a respectful communication to your team members. So, moving forward, what is feedback mechanism? Feedback mechanism is continuous performance improvement. Feedback helps identify strengths, weakness, and performance lack, enables timely correction before issue escalates. Feedback also enhances learning and development, supports individual growth through constructive suggestion. It also encourages skill enhancement and behavioral improvement. It promotes a two-way communication, that is, it allows employees to manage to exchange perspectives communication. It also builds mutual understanding and alignment of expectations. It builds engagement and motivation so that employees feel valued for their opinions and heard. It also gives recognition based feedbacks so employees' morals are boosted up and accountability is happened. It also supports organizational growth because a feedback mechanism helps in data driven feedback, which helps refine the policy system and the system of the organization. And ultimately, finally, it creates a culture of continuous improvement and innovation within the organization structure. So, what is cross cultural communication? First one is language barrier. Language barrier is different languages or different language proficiencies can lead to misunderstanding. For example, using accent, idioms, technical terms which may not be understood by the employees. Second is cultural differences. That is, variation is direct versus indirect communication approaches. Differences in tones, body language, non-verbal cues. So please remember, while using your body language, your tone of, you can request people to work, you can ask, or you have to be positive in your tone. Different values and belief. Some cultural norms influence attitude towards authority, teamwork, and time. So it leads to misalignment, affects in collaboration and decision making. Sometimes these cultural issues can create stereotypes and assumptions. That is, lack of cultural awareness may lead to misjudgment and misunderstanding. It also creates biases and hinder open communication. Sometimes in workplace interaction challenges happen, leading to misinterpretation of silence, assertiveness, or agreement. So, different expectations regarding feedback, conflict resolution, and hierarchy face real challenge in workplace. And lastly, need for cultural sensitivity. So, awareness and respect for diversity improves understanding. People coming from different culture, people coming from different diversity, working under a single roof may have different communication problem or different kind of barrier, but ultimately awareness and respects removes every diversity and it improves understanding. And then training and inclusive practices helps bridge these kinds of cultural gaps. So remember, through trainings and inclusive behavior, positive behavior, understanding, giving time to your employees helps to bridge between the gaps of cross cultural communication barrier. So, like, each and every communication or each and every organization has some communication policies. What are those? Those are clear communication standard, defined communication channels, specifying where to use email, when to use reports. It reduces confusion and duplications. The roles and responsibilities, the confidentiality and data protection policies, the timeliness and documentation of the department, consistency and the compliance. Because, like, different policies, if you have policies, whichever background, whichever culture, whichever diversity you are coming from, you are just following a single policy, reducing all the barriers and all the confusion and misunderstanding. So, policy is very important in effective communication. What is crisis communication? Crisis communication is preparedness and planning, clear roles and responsibilities, timely and accurate information, consistent messaging, empathy and reassurance, feedback and monitoring. So, all these are crisis communication you may face, because sharing information quickly sometimes share misunderstanding and rumors. Maintain uniform message cannot happen in all the communication channel. Use of most effective channels sometimes may have a distortion, because messaging each and every stakeholder sometimes may not happen place. Sometimes acknowledging the situation is difficult for the managers. Sometimes communicating calmly and showing concern and support helps to overcome this crisis communication. So, and always remember that feedback and monitoring helps to overcome all the crises, because adjust communication strategies based on feedback and evolving conditions. So, post crisis review, there all it the organization doesn't run smoothly, so you have to face different kind of crisis situation. But after you overcome the crisis situation, please try to follow post crisis review, because post crisis review evaluate communication effectiveness after the crisis, document lessons, learn to improve future crisis response. Suppose a junior joins to your company and he or she gets the document to learn how you have maintained the crisis situation. It will help those those members, those newcomers, to understand how you have planned and have have removed the crisis when the company has faced such kind of crisis situation through your effective communication. So, ethical communication. Ethical communication, whatever you do, you have to be ethical in your every work. What is ethical communication? Ethical communication is truthful and inaccurate information. That is, you have to avoid exaggeration, concealment, manipulation of information, transparency in communication, share relative information openly with the stakeholders, accountability and responsibility, respect and fairness, that is confidentiality and integrity. Whenever you are communicating, you should protect sensitive and personal information. You should not share confidential data to the outside. Only when it is required you have to share with an authorized individual. Also, communication, you have to build trust and credibility, because consistent ethical communication fosters trust among employees and stakeholders. The honesty strengthens long term relationships and organizational reputation. So, compliance with ethical standards, follow organizational codes of conduct and professional ethics, ensure communication aligns with legal and moral responsibilities. So always when you are working in an organization structure, please follow an ethical form of communication. Never hide anything or be accurate in your information. Be transparent in your communication. Respect and do a fairness in your job role. So, moving forward, non-verbal communication. Importance of non-verbal cues, your body language, your tone of voice, your physical appearance, your movement, cultural sensitivity in non-verbal communication is very important, because people coming from different cultural backgrounds, body language and tones vary across cultures. So awareness helps avoid misunderstanding in diverse environment. Impact of effective communication. Non-verbal communication supports clarity, credibility and connection. It enhances listening, teamwork and interpersonal techniques. So, while giving cues and non-verbal communication, body language, your eye contact, your facial expression, your gesture, your posture, it should be always positive and respectful towards your employees and your team members. So, what is conflict resolution? Conflict resolution is clear expression of issues, active listening, promotes mutual understanding, calm and respectful dialogue, problem solving approach, reduce misunderstanding, and of course, if you agree solution and clearly communicate them and documented it, then you can reduce conflict, and follow up communication ensures conflict is fully resolved. So always effective listening is also a part of a good communicator. Unless and until you try to listen properly, unless and until you try to solve mutually, unless and until you are calm and respectful enough for your employees, you won't be able to solve conflict among the organization. So conflict resolution is a very important part of effective communication. So, organizational culture, in a gist, we have already done this. It sets communication norms, it impacts communication flow, it gives transparency, it handles conflict handling, it encourages, it helps in role in decision making. So overall, it supports organizational effectiveness. It has a strong positive cultural improves clarity, alignment, and teamwork. And ultimately, the organizational culture is set up as enhances overall organization performance and morale has been established through organizational communication structure. So after you have set all the communication, all if effective organizational communication structure happens, then of course your performance will impact. You will have 100% performance ability and eligibility and track record. You will support performance monitoring. It will enable identification and correction of performance. All your KPIs will get focused and tracked. You can now be a good decision maker. You can improve your coordination and teamwork, and ultimately performance impact in effective communication, keeping all the employee improved and motivated. So clear communication improves efficiency. It also reduces time and resource wastage. So proper communication helps in performance, reduce risk, reduce misunderstanding, and creates a good environment within the organization. So these are the modern trends which I have jotted down for you all students. So you know, like nowadays, every time we are been talking about AI. So AI in communication, there are tools that helps in support writing emails, reports, chatbots. We use AI to support our data driven decision making through insights and analytics. It improves collaboration through AI. AI powered platform enables smarter meetings, summaries, and scheduling. Virtual assistants enhance internal communication efficiency. Use of video conferencing, messaging apps, remote work, flexible work encourages arrangements and global collaboration, promotes adaptability, innovation, and technologically driven communication, encourages trust, outcome based performance, and flexibility. Employees must adapt to every AI tools and virtual communication norms because digital literacy and emotional intelligence becoming an increasingly important nowadays. So implementation of AI in communication has made our life more easier and more effective, more efficient in working within the organization structure. So, remote communication, as I have already said before, these are the gist of the remote communication which you can practice. So, this is a gist where you can understand what are the kind of remote communication, and this is for your future reference. Moving forward, the summary, the throughout we are talking about the structure of communication, the AI in communication, remote communication, the advantage, disadvantage of different communication structure, the process of communication. So these are the all that we have studied so far past 1 hour. We have been talking about communication is fundamental, the leadership style of communication, different kind of diversity and cultural communication, cross cultural communication within the organizational structure, different kinds of policies and ethical communication, roles in communication to crisis management, what are the impact of performance and productivity, and the modern trends and transforming communication, the AI tools, the digital skills and adaptability. So this is very important. These are all the things we are being every day we are coming across, we are being practicing, but please remember these are very useful for our everyday practice, for our everyday life in the organization, also in our personal life. If we maintain to be a positive communicator, then a true leadership shapes will be a true leader, and we can help the society to do a better work, to do a better job. So These are the few discussion questions that I have set for you. So please, students, go through each of the questions, and because each of the questions is very common, but each and every questions, if you analyze, then you will understand that it is very critical and analytical to understand that how you will shape your life as a manager within the organization. These questions are the basic interview questions that is being used to ask by the human resource personnel when you go for interview. So you can go through these questions after listening to the lecture, and then you can analyze each of the questions on your own. So I hope you are being enjoying the lecture, and you have some idea about the communication structure, what it is, how you have to follow, and these are the questions that you have to address and you can address in your life. So all the best, student. Be a good manager, keep learning, and as a conclusion, this is a slide, this is a gist of the conclusion. So keep learning. All the best for your future, and we will be again meeting in the next lecture. So thank you. I hope that you have a wonderful learning experience, and then we will again meet you in the next class. Thank you.